What's up, YouTube? It's Diamond Cut Steel, and you guys are going to learn something today. Alright, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to be cut testing one of the brand new Ozarkgrail D2 knives. They have these on sale right now for $2 a piece. They had them marked down to $4, and now they're at $2. I'm sorry I'm having to voice over this whole thing simply because my granddaughter's here, and well, she cries every couple minutes because she wants me and, you know, nobody else. So, yeah, she cries. Alright, so first thing that's different about these knives, they're not like the originals. They changed the way the tang interacts with the lock bar. So, they're much more snappy than they was when they first come out. They got a really snappy action now. Like, it's noticeably different than when they first come out. They also have less blade play. The first two I got, they had a lot of blade play. These are much better. Again, I'm sorry, you're not going to hear the cutting. This is going to be a full voiceover. That way, y'all don't have to hear a baby crying every couple minutes. And I've tried to edit it out, and I don't know how to edit spots out of audio. I can cut it, but if I cut it out, that's a problem. So, you know, that way y'all miss parts of the test, parts of the, you know, the videos. So I wish I knew how to just edit the audio and mute it for that section of time and do a voiceover for that section of time for each one of the times she cries. It was only 2 or 3 times, but point is, I don't want y'all to have to hear it, so we're just going to voice over. Alrighty, so we're going to start the cut test. Now this is on the factory edge, straight out the box, a brand spanking new knife. The factory edge on it was pretty decent. Nothing special, but not bad. There's our first 10 cuts. And as you see, I've already made a mistake because I'm trying to do this fast, you know, so she's not raising hell, and I forget to check the edge. So who knows if the edge is already gone. I wouldn't know it. So we'll see. We'll see when I remember that I need to check the edge. There's 20 cuts. I have to say this factory edge is actually cuts pretty nicely. However, it is most definitely 100% overstropped. It's rather slick and definitely not an edge that is a fantastic rope cutter, but not terrible neither. So we're fixing to be at 30 cuts. And here's where I realized, hey, I forgot to check the edge. Thankfully, it's okay. It hasn't already failed the test yet, so we're good to go. That's me remembering, oh crap. You okay? Alright. Edge cut nice. What made me remember it is I can clearly feel the edge starting to want to give up. The little bit of bite that it did have, it's really falling off quickly now. And I figure it's got a few more cuts in it. But one thing I can definitely say is these knives now, the steel is done better than the very first 2 I had, which I got when they very first come out, before they blew up online. I had mine, like, I don't know, 2 weeks probably before they blew up online. The steel on those was done rather poorly. When I cut tested them on sisal rope, I believe it was around 30 cuts on after it had done had 3 or 4 edges on it. So I believe we're at 40 cuts now, and Oh, I believe she is hanging up now. There we are. We're tearing. Yeah. We're tearing, so I can definitely feel a rather large catch. Actually, not so much a catch as a more of a roll. And alright, be good, please. Not so much as a catch, but more of a blunting to where it's wanting to skip. I'm just triple checking. Yeah, it is definitely done. When it skips past that dead spot where the edge is flat, or where the apex is flattened, then if it skips past it, it'll continue to cut, and I'll get a clean cut. But there's definitely enough edge damage. You can see the glint. It's probably an 1/8 of an inch section, and basically the apex is flat in that section. What I have to say again is this piece of steel on this knife, along with the other one, I've now tested two, because I got these I said they were on sale at $2 a piece, so I bought 5 of them. Figured to give them away or whatever, but I bought 5. Can't beat 5 of these for $10. Right now I'm telling you about it. The edge, it's not so much as a catch as it is flat, and it's, when it skips and then cuts, yeah. It's just a apex basically flattened. But like I said, I can surely tell you that the steel now is definitely better done than the first 2 I had. And I will say this, the steel on this knife is absolutely done better than the I don't know what it's called, the black handle and stonewash version of this knife. You love your baby? Oh, that's a cute baby. Be a good girl. So anyhow, yeah, the stonewash D2 version of this, it doesn't have a coated blade. I would expect to be harder. It is not. I can tell on the stones, and it doesn't cut test very well at all. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to sharpen the knife. Since it was a fairly quick cut test, and she's being decent right now and not crying. No, you blow the bubbles. You're going to spill this. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to go ahead and sharpen it. No, I'm going to hold it. So anyhow, we're going to sharpen it. I'm going to do a quick sharpening on Nano-Hone Resin bonded diamond stones. We're going to go 100 micron and 25 micron, and being I need to resurface these stones, I'm just going to do it dry. That way they cut faster, and I can get this done, hopefully without her starting to raise hell. So these plates cut significantly faster dry than they do with a water or water and Dawn, whatever. This will be a very nice rope. This will be a very nice rope cutting edge. But this will wind up being a phenomenal rope cutting edge off that 25 micron stone. especially when I'm using the stone dry. It just cuts more aggressively, leaves a more aggressive edge. Beautiful rope cutting edge. It really is. The 25 micron stone from Nano-Hone is fantastic. In fact, even though it's relatively slow cutting, it is one of my very favorite finish stones, actually, because it just does such a great job on so many different steels. You know, from D2 to 14C to 440C, 420HC to crew wear, M4, S90V, S110V. It might be a little fine for S110V, but you know, depends on what you want from the edge. But that 25 micron stone is a very, very versatile resin stone. And what's nice is you can get them to cut almost with two completely different edge profiles by using them with a lubricant versus using them dry. If you want a finer, more keen edge, use water and a little bit of Dawn or Windex. And this goes with any of the stones. If you want them to be a more aggressive, you know, have more bite, use them dry. It literally is almost like having two. You take just these two stones, and it's almost like having literally 4 grits. It just depends on whether you use them with lubricant or you use them dry. Now, I will say, even though they're a very, very hard resin, that they will load up quite quickly. You know, they're not a very porous resin. It's a very tight poured structure, and what ends up happening is the load up isn't so much embedded as it is surface load up, but it will on the, I would say the 25 and less micron, it will stall cutting pretty quickly. However, with a little dressing stone, you have it right back to, you know, run the dressing stone over it, you're good to go. Now these were due for a lapping on a silicone carbide and granite, so I'm not worried about loading them up. But yeah, they needed a actual resurfacing, so they're gonna hit the silicone carbide powder after this and get them with a totally fresh surface, and they're ready to go for quite a while. As I've said before, my suggestion would be these stones are not for beginners or even your lower intermediates. Intermediate at minimum would be what I suggest for these stones, because they cut in a very unique way. They're very slick. They really don't feel like they're cutting. It's kind of hard to explain. They just thank you. They cut. They just don't feel like they cut, and that very, very slick feel of them, people that aren't very good sharpeners have a hard time on these stones. If you're a very good sharpener, they're great. If you're, you know, more maybe just getting to the intermediate level, then you do not want these stones. Like if say I handed the 100 micron to a sharpener that has, just reaching the intermediate stage of skill level. Say I give him the 100 micron, and I ask him what grit does he think that is? By the way, by how it feels that it's cutting the steel. I would assume they would probably say maybe something like a 3K, just because they don't feel like they cut. They do. It just don't feel like it. And the thing is, with that 100 micron, it is aggressive enough and removes steel fast enough that it can get you in trouble, because it doesn't feel like it's removing hardly any steel, and it's actually removing a pretty decent bit of it. To somebody that didn't know any better or didn't stop and check, they could definitely remove much more steel than they intended to. So we had a little piece of some burr off the stones, which I figured, because the steel did not want to deburr on the stones. Yeah, it most certainly did not want to deburr on the stones. The burr never, it reduced, it got smaller. As I fatigued it, it definitely wasn't getting crispy and letting go, and as I'm making edge leading deburring passes, its burr's just kind of flip-flopping, but definitely not wanting to let go. So we went on a 5 micron strop, and now it feels nice and clean of burr. Doing a nice job swirl cutting, not catching, and this is going to be an excellent rope cutting edge. Nice and aggressive, lots of bite. Exactly what you want out of an edge that you're going to be cutting rope with, or just a general EDC type edge. Nice and keen, but with a lot of bite. And with this nice thin geometry and that edge, it is absolutely blowing through this rope. It's cutting it extremely nicely. First couple cuts, I was like, hey, wait, what the hell? On the paper. It felt like, but there was something on the edge. Now we're looking good, slicing easily. So, these thin geometry blades, they just blow through this rope so easily when you get a nice aggressive edge, and that's exactly what it's doing. There was, after that, when it hung up on that paper, I was like, what the hell? But there was some little schmutz on the blade or something, and I knew there was no way that edge failed after I think 20 cuts. That was the second time I tested it. Now it's just blowing through the paper like it's supposed to. No ketchup. Nope, leave this here. Eat it off the table, please. I'll tell y'all what, it's fun having a grandbaby in the house, that's for sure, but whew, she can be tough. And I have officially learned that cocoa melon is the single worst thing ever created by mankind. And I genuinely mean that. Cocoa melon is... I don't even know. It is possibly the worst thing that a human being could listen to. Or have to listen to. I guess kids love it, but my God, it's so bad. And I've heard it for a month solid now. And we're still just blowing through this rope. Like we need to take our knives and cut Coco Melon's microphone cable, because that show should not be able to make noise. It should just be it should just be mute. It ought to be a crime against humanity for that to have to play in the background. I give you cheese. Still cutting beautifully, blowing right through it. Still got a nice bite. Looking really good. I will say this D2 on the stones, it doesn't feel soft by any means. I would probably put it at 60, right around 60. So 59 and a half, 60 and a half, somewhere in that range. No, 60, 60, 61. It's fairly hard D2. This is definitely not a soft piece of D2, but the heat treat itself is not great, because just I can tell by the way it feels on the stones and the way it deburrs. The heat treat is definitely not even close to ideal. And what I will say, it could, with these knives, the heat treat is going to be absolutely all over the place. This one here did this. The next one might do a quarter of what this one did, and the one after that might do double what this one did. The heat treat is going to be all over the place. So, any video you watch, if you go buy one of these knives, do not expect your knife to perform like any knife you've seen, for the specific fact that there's going to be drastic differences between these knives. And that's just the way it is. That's why anytime I bought them, I've bought at least two and test at least two. That way I get a general feel for the standard deviation between knives. Just like with the black handle stonewash model, I've tested two of them. This one here I have actually 5 of. I went ahead, they had a bunch of them, and they're $2 a piece. I bought 5 of them, but I'm actually going to test probably 1 or 2 more, just to see how drastically different they are. And from what I've seen, and it makes total sense. Sorry, I had to cut the video there because she was raising hell, and I didn't realize I was going to have to voice this over. I was trying to cut it out. So, anyways, from what I've seen, the standard deviation from knife to knife is large. Large at best, and huge realistically. One sharpens decent, the next one sharpens terrible, the one after that sharpens it's okay, the next one sharpens pretty good, the next one sharpens horrible. It's all over the place. Like, if you get 2 of these knives and they perform similarly, you're gonna be one of very few people that got that. And I mean, think about it. Walmart's selling these right now at $2 a piece. And you know they're not going to lose money on that. You know, they may be selling them very close to cost, but they're not just going to give them away. They're going to make some profit.
Eat it, baby. Eat that.
Your little babies eat some cheese?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute. It's funny, now that I'm doing a voiceover, she's being good. But she just wants to be by her, bop, so.
Yeah.
When I've got, one of the kids, watching her, she not very happy. I want my bop. Cry like hell. And it's super adorable. I'm her bop. Not pop, not paw, bop, B-O, like B-O-P, bop.
Bop.
Yep, bop.
Bop. Bop.
Yep. Hey, tell everybody, say, I'm hungry as a bear.
Hungry Daddy.
Say, hungry bear.
Hungry
Hungry
bear.
bear. He's so cute. Anyways, what it did, in case you guys can't see. Alright, so on the factory edge, we did 40. Realistically, it was really giving up very quickly. So I'd say it was more like probably around 35-ish did it give up. After that quick sharpening, we did 70. And it, that edge was done. Now it would probably strop out pretty easily, but it did 70 cuts. And that's with very, very little steel removal. So this piece of D2 right here, I'm not mad at, especially at $2. I mean, come on. That's basically like Kershaw, your typical like China Kershaw D2. That is almost neck and neck performance. Now I will say it didn't sharpen very nicely, but edge retention, not bad. All right, guys.